At this time, I'll call on our state representative, Mr. Bob Gunther, and let's give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, Neil, and it's a pleasure to be here. And it's also a pleasure for me to introduce our next First District Congressman.
You.
To get rid of the person we have now that doesn't answer your phone calls or anything else. We'll have somebody that responds to the needs of Southern Minnesota. It's also going to be nice to have somebody that identifies the issues and is not afraid to go after them. Every piece of literature I've seen that Alan has put out and talked about how he is going to stop Obamacare, how he is going to go after the spending that's happening in Washington, D.C. And the way he's doing it is kind of unique. You know, in St. Paul last session, we cut spending to the lowest point since 1962. I really think that we have a chance with Alan there to match that in Washington. I think he's looking at things like welfare fraud, tax avoiding paying taxes, and all the things that we need to look at. I don't mind giving a person a helping hand, but that's about as far as I want to go, because there's so many of us that are making and doing a lot worse than those people that are getting the handouts of St. Paul and Washington. So it's my pleasure to introduce Alan Quist.
Well, thank you, Bob, and it's an honor for me to share the front of this meeting with Representative Bob Gunther, but we need to recognize, too, that this is Bob's birthday today. And Neil is going to start us in singing Happy Birthday, Bob.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bob. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very
much. Well, I don't need to tell any of you here that Bob Gunther is a very classy man who serves this area extraordinarily well. And thank you, everyone, for coming, and I'd like to especially thank Neil and Jolene Breitbarth and the others that have worked with them in organizing this town hall. And I'll have to say, this is I've had a lot of town halls, and this is the first town hall I've had in a facility like this. I'm getting this sinking feeling, but I think I'm going to put it up one more time. Ooh, my. Can you hear me okay if we're about like this? A lot of you know I learned to make myself heard over the din of 10 kids around a kitchen table. And so I normally, in fact, I don't even need the mic, as Gil there, for instance, knows, and a lot of others, but we will use it. So in terms of procedure, what I would like to do is spend maybe about 15 minutes or so describing what I think needs to be done. And it's one thing to talk about problems, and I'll talk about problems, but I like to focus on solutions, because that's where we need to concentrate. We have to take pretty major action, and I think we all know that. So I'll talk for a few minutes, and then I would love to have your questions. Let me just say, every once in a while somebody will ask a question, and they will preface the question by saying, Al, I hate to put you on the spot, but, and my answer is, go right ahead. This is what I'm here for, and go right ahead and put me on the spot, because I'm one of those people that what you see is what you get, and those of you who know me know I'm very open with who I am and what I believe, and I don't pretend to be somebody that I'm not. And if you want to spin the country into oblivion, you don't want me, so go and support somebody else. But I'd like to say for starters that well, let me start here. President Lincoln began his very, very famous Gettysburg Address. And I'm going to pause there for a footnote because former President Bill Clinton once used the phraseology, government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and referred to it as having been in the Constitution. And then he corrected himself and said, no, it's in the Declaration of Independence. And of course, it's in Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. Well, you know, that's pretty close for a Democratic president. But anyway, Lincoln began his Gettysburg Address by saying that the Civil War put the United States to the test. And the test was whether a nation conceived and born in liberty could long survive. And I am convinced, and I think most or all of you recognize, that we are being put to that same test today. The test of whether a nation conceived and born in liberty can long survive. And that is the question before us. And the reason I am here, to cut to the quick, is I have dedicated what is left of my life to doing everything I can to restore the United States to being a nation where we are free. And I want you to know that's the bottom line, and I want you to know that I'm one of these people who wake up in the morning and I thank God that I live in a country where I'm free. And I want my kids and my grandkids, and hang on, we've got 37 grandkids, okay? I want my kids and my grandkids, like us, to be able to wake up in the morning and also thank God that they too live in a country where they are free. So that's what it's all about, and let me go to some details having said that. And part of the detail is going to involve this little chart that I've got to my left. And some of my critics now are accusing me of having kind of a teddy bear attachment to this chart. Because the fact of the matter is I do take this chart with me wherever I go, politically. And the reason I take it with me is because the chart tells the story. It's an old adage that you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And this picture pretty well tells the story. The chart pictures our national debt starting in the year 1944, and one of the reasons I love the chart is because that's the year I was born. And so this is what's happened to the national debt over my lifetime, and I know I shouldn't say that because I know my opponents are going to say, see what's happened while Quist has been alive? And you think you're going to trust him? But the fact of the matter is, it starts in 1944, and it describes the national debt, and you can see that for years the national debt was not, you know, really very large. And you can see the direction, and you can see what in mathematics we call the exponential curve. And we see the direction of the debt. And having said that, before I say more, I want you to know that I just learned from Mr. Al Travis, who is here, that Julie and I have just received a copy we can put on our website of our first video TV ad. And the TV ad, it's a 30-second ad, of course, includes this chart. And the ad goes like this. It has me at the beginning, of course, and I say, hi, I'm Alan Quist, and then I show you, and I'm holding one of my granddaughters. This is my granddaughter, Lucia. Lucia happens to be 18 months old. Red hair, cute as a pin, and I don't mind that she is the star of the ad, not me, but she is the star. Okay, then after I say that, I say this, however, this chart pictures our national debt. Now, as I am talking, Lucia on the video is climbing the stairs. And as she begins to climb the stairs, I say, I want Lucia to have the opportunity to aspire to whatever heights she chooses. She is climbing the stairs. This chart pictures our national debt, $16 trillion and growing. And now on the video, Lucia is on this mountain of debt. She is now climbing the mountain of debt. And it's quite a graphic picture of where we are.